Get a cup, get a cup, get a cup. Hello. Welcome back, everyone, to another video on Fresh Cuts Slim. Today, we're looking at something different. This is by a talking hat. It's, what on every drink feels like. With that being said, the original link's in the description. Make sure you go subscribe to a talking hat. Interesting idea for a video. I'm actually really interested to see, you know, what this would be like. Not that I want to have a first-hand experience in it. But, yeah, with that being said, the original link's in the description. Let's go.
The pencil incident. Shrooms are a natural psychedelic that cause hallucinations. About 30 minutes after eating them, colors get brighter, patterns start crawling on the walls, time stretches like taffy.
Can you actually, you know, pass away from that? I didn't think that you could. I mean, I don't freaking know, because I don't do them.
And your sense of self begins to melt.
Maybe it gives you like a
brain
panic
is rushed
attack.
into a state of euphoria, leaving you questioning what's real and what's not. But what happens when you take too much? On a calm Saturday afternoon, a 21-year-old Hispanic man would return home from work and consume an unspecified quantity of shrooms. Shortly after consumption, he started experiencing a bad trip and begun acting erratically upon arriving to his house.
Oh no, did he do like something crazy and just start running around? Like, are these in themselves going to be what takes you out, or is it going to be what they make you do? Like, does it make you jump off a building or something like that? Right?
His stepfather and brother would step in and restrain him to try to calm him down, but he'd break free of their grasp and also break a glass vase in the process.
Not the vase! Not the vase!
In his frenzied state, he'd then begin to rub himself against the glass shards on the floor and severely injure his arms and legs.
What the hell? What? What did he think it was? What did he think the glass was? Oh my gosh.
His brother and stepfather would successfully intervene to stop him from injuring himself any further with the glass shards, and he'd be sat down at a desk. But shockingly enough, in a horrific act, he'd take a number 2 pencil that was laying on the desk.
Oh, it's gonna do a friggin', wanna see a magic trick? Boom. Bah! He's gonna do a friggin' Heath Ledger. You know, in the Batman?
Stand it upright and repeatedly smash his head on the
oh my gosh, he actually did.
sharpened pencil. When he raised his head, he'd reveal that he jabbed the pencil repeatedly into both of his eye sockets. He would stand up again to do something else, but quickly vomited on himself, leaving his family in a state of total panic.
At what point do they call the cops?
Emergency services were called, where they tried desperately to save the young man's life, but unfortunately, they would only get so far. Shrooms are one of the least toxic substances in the world. You'd need to eat dozens or even hundreds of grams to fatally overdose. But that doesn't mean people can't die from it.
So did he actually, you know, pass away from the actual substance or from the pencils in the eye? You know, because like maybe it isn't what took him out, but it's the stuff that he was doing from it that did.
Most fatalities come from behavioral toxicity. Panicking, jumping out windows, walking into traffic.
That's what I'm saying.
Or doing something fatal during a full-blown psychotic break. You won't pass away from the drug itself. You'll pass away from what it does to your mind. The gator incident.
Okay, so it wasn't even from the, yeah, the drug. That was a crazy one to start off on. Are these like a progressive thing where it's gonna get worse? Because I don't know if I'm actually able to handle that. That was pretty crazy.
Now let's talk about meth. When it hits, you feel invincible. This substance cranks up your sympathetic nervous system.
The old Walter White substance.
And causes an explosive release of dopamine in your body. Your heart starts racing, you become laser focused, and you'll be filled with unstoppable energy. The high can last 8 to 16 hours.
Holy crap, just enough for a workday. Don't give me any ideas.
No sleep, no food, just intense stimulation. And when you take too much, your body turns into an absolute war zone. On May 26th, in Orlando, Florida, concerned bystanders would phone a call to police officers to let them know that there was a man on a racetrack shaking violently, asking to see his son. When police arrived, he was nowhere to be found, until suddenly he was located in a lake, full of alligators. Officers would try to throw the man a life vest, but he'd refuse it and would start getting attacked by the alligators in the water. And to officers' surprise, like it was a scene straight out of a horror movie, the man actually resurfaced out of the lake, covered in severe injuries and carrying gardening shears.
Did he have those when he went into the lake? Well, what? Where did he find the gardening shears? This is actually terrifying.
He would charge at the officers in their car, and in response, they would tase him repeatedly, but it would have absolutely no effect. It was only when the man jumped into the passenger seat of the police cruiser and tried reaching for a rifle in the vehicle that officers finally used lethal force. It hijacks your brain's reward system and sends your body into overdrive. It burns out your dopamine center and disrupts your central nervous system so much that your body both loses touch with reality and can no longer regulate its temperature. Your organs can literally cook from the inside out. And
Really? I didn't know that. That's actually really interesting. Doesn't really make me want to do it. Does not really want to, make me want to do it.
cause you to collapse. You can have a heart attack, or you could simply just go on a rampage and meet an early demise like this man. The 108th incident.
If they can find a way to harness it so that you could get the energy, but everything else, they can negate that. If you could find a way just to harness that energy aspect, I think it would be an amazing product to sell at Walmart. All the other negative stuff is the issue, though. Like, we need to freaking get Heisenberg on this and, weed out the kinks in the system, because this would be like the next level type of energy drink, right?
Weed is by far one of the most commonly used substances in the United States. Within minutes of smoking, you're relaxed, music sounds better, jokes are funnier, and you get really, really hungry. You might feel euphoric, or anxious, or both. It depends on the strain, your mood, and your brain chemistry. So what happens when you smoke too much of it? Well, here's the truth. You can't die from THC toxicity alone. There's no known lethal dose in humans. You'd have to smoke thousands of joints in a short time to even come close.
Yeah, we should ask the resident expert on that. And I would say Snoop Dogg would be the one that we'd have to go to for the medical advice here.
But that doesn't mean weed is harmless. In the spring of 2000,
It can cause paranoia, right? It can cause paranoia and anxiety. It's like the same thing with the first substance, where it itself probably isn't going to take you out, but what you do while you have it in your system because of paranoia or because of this or that, that is probably what's going to take you out.
2018 in California, a woman who had just befriended a man at a dog park she frequently visited would follow him home to his apartment for a quick spark-up session, which...
Who does that? Hey, babe, want to follow me home for a nice toke? You just met this person, you don't know them, and then you're going to follow them home? Seems like this is just leading to something different.
mind you, is totally legal in the state of California. After the two finished lighting up grass through a bong, the woman would unexpectedly shoot up from her seat straight to the kitchen and grab 3 knives.
Why? Why? See, this is why you don't take strangers home that you don't know. Maybe get to know them first. Go to frickin' Chili's, get to know them.
Hey, could you come back with some chips? And maybe some ice cream? And maybe some chicken Oh! Are you trying to chop up some salsa? I love salsa.
Jim, I'm not making salsa.
I'm turning you into salsa. I'm turning you into sausage.
In just the blink of an eye, she would stab the man repeatedly non-stop 108 times. His body would be covered in marks from head to toe, and his face would nearly be entirely carved out. Officers that arrived at the scene would find that she had also stabbed her dog, and shockingly enough, had stabbed herself 40 times.
Okay, fair enough to say. I would say, at least, this is what I would call a red flag. This is a warning sign. This is a red flag for me. I would be avoiding her. Yep.
And was still in the process of doing it. They would quickly intervene and try to physically stop her, but it wasn't enough. Officers would tase her 4 times to try to break her psychotic frenzy, but it would be to no avail.
I think you literally need to give people like this, like a tranquilizer or something. Something that, because a taser's not going to stop someone from thinking crazy thoughts. But a tranquilizer is going to make them weak enough, and that's kind of counteracting what's going on. A taser probably isn't going to, if you think of it.
In order to get her to stop, one police officer had to swing a baton at her arm 9 times to break it, and finally she would release her grip from the knife. The man unfortunately didn't make it, but surprisingly, the woman did. And even more shockingly, she faced 0 prison time for her actions because it was proven in court that she experienced what is commonly known as cannabis-induced psychosis.
100% she wasn't experiencing that, but I don't know. I feel like, should there be a punishment for that? Should there be I don't know. I'm not the justice here, but I understand that even if you are in a state of psychosis, I guess if you could prove that it's a state of psychosis, then you are innocent. Because it's not like you can just claim, oh, I was in a state of psychosis, therefore I can do whatever I want.
The woman was very inexperienced when it came to smoking, and that potentially played a huge role in why she experienced this rare phenomenon. She was placed on probation for 2 years and was required to do 100 hours of community service.
She can go clean up a dog park.
The man's family, especially his father, were extremely upset when they heard about this.
No kidding.
Understandably so.
It should never have happened. She should have never have been allowed to walk free. She should have done some time. You know, you had a jury that convicted her, a unanimous conviction, in less than 4 hours. And the judge went completely against all 3 of those entities and just said, you're free to go.
Yeah, like, I have mixed feelings regarding that, because, how do I say this? Yeah, she's clearly the one who did it. So then it makes sense to think that she would have some, like, prison time or something. But you can also tell she was in a state of psychosis, right? But here's the thing. If you smoke the other crap that was mentioned here, you know, METH, and you get into a state of psychosis and you start doing some crazy crap too, like, can you get arrested and persecuted for whatever you do while you're under that substance as well? Because you're still the one doing it. As well as, let's say you're drinking. You're drinking and driving. Once you've drunk enough and you are actually under a different state of mind, you're not thinking properly. That's like, so are you telling me anyone who drinks and drives and crashes and kills someone can just get off scot-free because, you know, they were under the influence, they weren't thinking properly, right? So that's the same kind of logic where it's like, well, then no, you should be punished. So in that case here, I also feel like, yeah, you know what? They probably should be punished. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. It's a difficult situation.
The stove. YouTube really didn't like...
This is also progressively getting worse. This is the worst one yet. Oh my gosh.
Like the case on ecstasy that I found. So instead, we'll go over this situation where a 26-year-old martial arts fighter and his sparring partner consumed an unnatural amount of shrooms while in their apartment. Initially, everything was fine.
This can't go wrong. 2 people who know how to fight take substances that mess with your mind.
Until they became convinced that the world was coming to an end and that the 2 were fighting a battle of life and death between God and the devil. The 2 would begin their legendary battle, and finally when the struggle finished, their friend would walk into their apartment room only to find the martial arts fighter standing butt naked in the kitchen cooking his friend's heart and remains in a stove. The victim would...
So who won though? Was it good or evil?
...be found laying on the couch, missing his face, tongue, and heart. And sadly...
Did he live?
The autopsy revealed that he was alive when his chest was ripped open and his heart was taken out. The martial arts fighter wouldn't be as lucky as the woman in our last case. He'd be formally charged and sentenced to 47 years in state prison for what he did to his friend. Now this probably makes the US legal system come off as a little hypocritical.
Completely. Because he was also under a state of, you know, wrong state of mind or psychosis, as well as the lady, you know, the dog park lady was too. So then why treat one with such leniency and the other with such harshness? That is an insane joke and extremely hypocritical.
Considering that in the other case, the woman was allowed to blame psychosis for her actions and be cleared of any severe wrongdoing.
See, I can't agree with that. Because ultimately, you were the one who put yourself into that state. You know, if someone, as I said, if someone's drinking and driving, it's not like they can just say, Your Honor, I had 12 beers. I can't be held responsible. I was under the influence. Right? It's the same logic. Like, no, you should still be held accountable, at least somewhat.
Whereas in this case, the fighter's state of influence was ignored.
Like, instead of first-degree murder, which I think is intention to kill someone and like you've planned it out, I think that's what it is, don't quote me, but I think that's what it is. Maybe charge him with 3rd degree where it's like it happened but it wasn't intentional. You know, it's a lesser charge but still it's suiting for this case.
And he was directly sentenced. But honestly, that's your opinion to make. When it comes to overdosing on psilocybin, you'll find that it rarely ever ends you through toxicity alone. You'll need to eat an absurd amount for that to actually happen. The real danger is psychosis, panic, and delusion. Once you compromise the healthiness and security of your mind for a quick burst of excitement, you'll find that that's where things go haywire. So in other words, don't do drugs. Have a happy day.
Anyway, I hope you guys liked this video. I actually really liked it. And I don't like being under the influence of anything. Like even this weekend, I didn't do any of this. But I had a few beers, and I didn't have that many. Like I like being in control of myself. I really do. I don't like, and I was feeling like this weird feeling after I had like 3 beers, after like 4 hours or something. So I was not drunk at all, but I had like 3 beers, and I was just weird like feeling. I'm like, I don't like this. I like being in control of myself at all points in time. I don't like the feeling of lack of control. And when you're on any substance, that is the feeling you're going to have, because you're along for the ride at that point. And a large portion of the time, those rides can end up not always ending in this, but it can end in a negative way. But yeah, anyway, hope you guys like this. Make sure you go subscribe to A Talking Hat if you're new, and subscribe as well. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next time.